So Stan, would you like to tell us something about your time in Spring Grove?
Yeah, when I first came to United States, to Baltimore, I started working in Spring Grove, which is on the outskirts of Baltimore, in a place called Catonsville. And this was just an ordinary psychiatric hospital, but they had cottages, small cottages, and on the cottage number 13 was one where we started actually doing the psychedelic research. Now, Al Carolyn, who was the director, and he was well established in government in Maryland, and he somehow managed to create a new institute, research institute, the Maryland Psychiatric Research Center. And actually we were able to create this institute as we exactly wanted it, for non-ordinary states of consciousness. So there were people like Carl Savage, there was Sandy Unger, there was Walter Pankey there, and we had at the time also John Lilly, which was somebody who was working with dolphins, but was also a pioneers of psychedelics. And so we were able to create it exactly where we wanted it. We said if there's going to be one day really major interest in psychedelics, we will create it like Manhattan research, you know.
Okay.
And so there were 4 floors. On the 4th floor there was a animal laboratory. On the 3rd floor was Van Gorf, a biochemical laboratory. And then the 2nd floor had the offices of psychotherapy, of
therapists? Or?
Well, it was for psychiatrists and psychologists there, where there are offices. And there we were 2 very specially developed 2 treatment rooms.
Yes.
That were not like hospital places. This was done like beautiful places at home. There was a large roll-out couch. There was a very good Wi-Fi system there. Yeah. We had a kitchenette, bathroom, and so on. And both of those treatment rooms had camera, remote.
Yes.
So those people who wanted to have the experiences recorded, we had students in the other place, and they were watching what was happening, and they were turning it on when something interesting was happening. It was much of the time people were just lying, and they would not be very, very exciting. But sometimes they started making sounds, they started talking, and also some fantastic movements of expressions and movements, their hands and so on. So we managed to create there 300 of these hours of these kinds of records, you know, with alcoholics, with people with addictions. There were also people who had cancer. And what was more interesting, there were people who were psychologists, psychiatrists. Particularly, they wanted to record it because they could watch it afterwards. And then there was also the first floor. There were rooms which were for services and for business, for post, for conference and so on.
Oh, okay.
And then the most interesting was in down experience. So there were laboratories. There was a laboratory for sleep deprivation. There was for dream laboratory. There was but what John Lilly had made this gigantic deprivation tank, yeah. One where we could actually stay there under water. There are masks and so on, and a circle and so on. Snorkel, yeah. And there was one more hypnosis one, yeah. And then a bizarre one was we had a witch's cradle, which was something that Jean Houston and Master's bedroom. This was a copy of what they were doing in Middle Ages for the witches, yeah.
Really? Wow.
So it was a cradle which were on a rope, in a specific kind of lengths. That can be too small or too long.
Yeah.
Exactly the length. And as you were sitting there, there were certain movements in your body that were moving. So, for example, aorta was bringing blood. Pulse, the heart was pulse, and there were things happening in the intestines, what we call borborigi. So it was a very unusual movement. It was not a regular like a moving or something like this. It was what we are calling like a Brownian movement. So I think that was the most interesting, to have a very special whole institute that would be guide for non-ordinary states of consciousness.
Wonderful.
It was amazing. We were able to create this center just exactly we wanted it. It's for a Manhattan project about non-ordinary states of consciousness. And then the problem started. We forgot that in Maryland, if you use a position for 6 months, you lose it. And we just simply couldn't get people on time, which was unbelievable. And so Carland had to start getting some people just to fill these people into this institute. He brought a professor of Johns Hopkins who is interested in sleep, but in pharmacology, for sleeping medication. So they started doing this, bring these different people for sleeping. Now Van Curve was very interested in microndia, And so he brought his whole team to this third floor, to the biochemical, the library, and we lost Walter Pankey, who went scuba diving in Maine and just by themselves and disappeared. They never found his body or any of the equipment. So it was a very important situation. And so basically what happened, we just still worked on psychedelics on the second floor, but money was running out. We couldn't get more fans actually, but the cancer version, they said, you've already solved the problem, it works, so it now has to go to the hospitals. There's no reason to continue, get more money on it. And so basically I decided to take a sabbatical for a year. I wanted to work because I had a lot of material for psychedelics. And Michael Murphy, let me to be there for a year to Essel, and so I work on my books. And I was trading it, with giving workshops at SLN. So that was, end of this great situation. Well, I think the most interesting thing I didn't say about the Maryland Psychiatric Research Center, that, we had this animal laboratory, and we had great bio laboratory, biochemical, and we were planning to bring Albert Hoffman, who was just retiring, and we wanted to bring also Richard Schultes, who's a botanical from Harvard, who was to go to Amazon. And so the idea, he and other people would go to the Amazon and other places, because there are many different psychedelics of plants, of course. They would go and find sort of some new plants. We hope that we would find Soma, for India. And then, they would isolate the alkaloids from it, would test it, in pharmacology with the animals. And then when with everything go, we would just take them to the third floor, and we would start doing experiments with these new psychedelics.
Great.
So this great dream, didn't happen.